All right, everyone, we are live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Yes, indeed. It's time for some more fun news. Several of these stories are definitely more on the humorous side. Some are more on the serious side. Of course, it can still be humorous. It's just at some point it's grave humor. Oh, society's collapsing? The economy sucks dick? Well, okay. Never would have seen that coming from the Bidenomic administration. Yes, we are live on Rumble. Spaz out over there on Rumble Rants. Not feeling it today, Mr. Krabs. Hey, Jimmy Stiffingers, greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings to you too as well. I'm in Enschede. Lots and lots of good cafes and shit around here, by the way. If you ever come to the Netherlands, you definitely should see this side of the country. A lot of Americans, they think of the Netherlands, they think just of Amsterdam. Go up to Friesland and see all the super flat Minecraft world-looking farms from the train lines. It's something else. It's like a greener version of Iowa, I suppose. Yes, and we will be talking, oh baby, I like it raw, about the Jussie Smollett moment from I think a U.S. Senator, Senator Scott Wiener. We'll be talking about that too. His name that's actually his name, Wiener. Why is it that every Wiener is a Democrat? You know, you get Anthony Weiner, Scott Wiener, you know. I wonder why. You know, name is destiny, you know. You choose those names carefully if you have a kid. Anyway, we'll start right off here with the first news of the day. This is the biggest news of the day, but it's one of the more boring pieces because, you know, it involves political scandals, number one. And on the number two, you'll notice that the legacy media is not touching this story. That's because their people are associated directly with a lot of the politicians that are being implicated as regards to the FTX scandal. Of course, they've gone bankrupt. Sam Bankman-Fried he's holding his ground, actually. I'm getting the sneaking goddamn suspicion that Sam Bankman-Fried is going to be a fall guy and that all of the political names and various other sleazebags associated with using FTX will skate. So they'll throw him under the bus and he'll learn the hard way that politics makes strange bedfellows, also makes strange enemies. Yeah, I know that you got $10 million into my political campaign years ago, but I'm sorry, I can't save you from this one because Mr. Jones over there says that I'm not allowed to do that. He's worth more than I am. John Smith, another Twitter shout out, please, at Exposing Libs 101. There's your shout out. Money well invested. It's funny, at this point, I'm making money basically because people want to post ads on the live stream in that particular form of shout outs. It's almost like getting ad revenue. Anyway, FTX, U.S. donated $1 million to PAC linked to Mitch McConnell before bankruptcy. So let's look over the list of groups and individuals now associated with these dirty dealings with FTX. Of course, again, basically a giant slush fund. First, you got Ukraine. That was a big one because they actually were listed by the WEF types, literally on the WEF's website, by the way, until recently. As using crypto donations for Ukraine. So that's number one. And of course, Sam Bankman-Fried himself was the second largest donor over the last couple of cycles for the Democratic Party, just shy of George Soros himself. That's a lot of money. It was in the yard of $40 million to Democratic campaigns, various super PACs, etc. Then we found out that McCarthy, who may or may not end up leading the House GOP majority in a short month, he got a bunch of money through FTX and used it to target Madison Cawthorn. And I find it very coincidental that all of the people targeted had a problem with the uniparty system. That's a coincidence, by the way. Mitch McConnell and McCarthy just thought that they were unelectable. So they decided to make them unelectable, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now we find out that Mitch McConnell is adjacent to a PAC that was working with FTX, actually. They donated $1 million to a super PAC linked to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell just weeks before the parent company declared bankruptcy early this month, shorting clients, creditors, and investors out of billions of dollars. That's very, very interesting. Democratic major donor. McConnell's getting money. McCarthy's getting money. For various causes, it appears to have gone towards defeating MAGA Republicans. Yeah, there's no uniparty system whatsoever here. It doesn't exist. That's a conspiracy theory, everyone. That Manx guy sent $5. No comment, thank you. Victoria Winter, I need to get rid of my crapple phone. Any suggestions as to what I should replace it with? P.S. Tarl Warwick books make a perfect stocking stuffer for any of your leftist friends. Yes, you can get critical race theory debunked on Amazon or 101 commie jokes, and you can give it to your crazy relatives. The odd relative, the actual one. You can get, I guess, maybe wait for a Tesla phone. Just get a cheap brick phone or some shit like that at Walmart, I guess. Oh, wait, they're woke too. I don't know. Get a BlackBerry, I suppose. Do they even still work? AWOL as Neville. I've been watching Fallout lore lately. Kind of scary how the Enclave and our current government are very similar. Scary. Yeah, agreed. They are a little bit like Enclave. Teresa. Clank. Mopey Hornet. Anomaly on Adam Krigler's show last night said he's up for debate. Clank on him. Oh, yeah, he's up for a debate with me. That's interesting because Lev, who was originally going to broker a debate between us, revealed that he didn't want to debate me. I've probably still got the fucking DMs, actually. Very interesting. So now he wants to debate. Okay. That dude is, there's something wrong with him. He blocks me on Twitter, but still rants about me sporadically. He says he won't debate me. Now I guess he's saying he will debate me. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Mega Reacts. Longtime Clanker here who started a reaction channel looking for a shameless plug for my channel. Clank on. All right, we've got Mega Reacts. Is that Londo, by the way, from Babylon 5 that you've got as an avatar there? I can't tell. It's too small for me to see. Looks like Londo. Veer. Bring me my beer, Veer. A good show, by the way. Space comedy for the first couple of seasons. Then it kind of degenerated into a tragic comedy, I suppose. Hunter Wadley, best advice to get normies political. It's very difficult to do that with normies. Tell them that they're in danger. Do some fear mongering. The two-party system is very good at this, by the way. Next news story. Apple and China want to delete apps on your phone. Elon Musk has it right. This is a battle for the future of civilization. This is a takeoff from trending a couple of days ago. Elon Musk talked about the importance of free speech online and said fundamentally it is a battle for civilization. And I've said this too in the past. We are veering off as countries in two directions. In one direction, you have the problems attendant with free speech, and there are problems. You will get people who try to scam and spam and stuff. You have constant moderation issues, etc. Or you can go in the direction that China, parts of Europe, now the EU certainly are going off into, and you can solve the problem of too much free speech by eliminating free speech. You no longer have it. You no longer have free expression. I, of course, prefer the former route. I believe in unbridled free speech. Yes, there are examples of things that should be banned online. Is it illegal? No. If not, you go to question 2. Is it spammy or bawdy? Because that's not a form of speech at all. If not, it should be allowed cross-platform. The problem is that Europe especially tries to use its investment in tech firms and the fact that there are a lot of European users for places like Twitter and Google as a cudgel to circumvent the First Amendment of the United States, even though these companies are directly tied in and speak to regularly the U.S. government. They're in the United States. There should be a constitutional amendment, in my opinion, an Internet Bill of Rights style thing to enshrine the concept that these sites need to be common carriers. That is, they should not be able to throttle or ban material simply for being offensive, etc. That is the battle for civilization, and it has been for years. I have identified the battle over internet free speech as the single most important thing that we're doing now for 5 or 6 years. It's quite self-evident. If you don't have the ability to speak freely, to express yourself freely, every other freedom becomes hazarded, at least hazarded. You're only ever one bad administration away from it being taken entirely. We see this in Canada right now. Canada is a nation in which free expression has been throttled, has been hazarded by the government. The government, therefore, can violate the rights of Canadians at a whim. And if you have a good administration, if you're led by benevolent people who know what they're doing, that's fine. Of course, there's not going to be any such abuse, although that's very rare within politics. If you, however, have a bad administration, if you have Trudeau, if you have a Putin or something like that, it causes fucking problems and becomes a big issue. I agree with Elon Musk, although I would like to say, as not part of the Elon Musk worship cult, I like what he's doing with Twitter. I recognize that he is flawed and he's primarily in it for the money. He is a corporatist. He's not in it to be some sort of messiah or savior of the First Amendment in the United States. He's not even from the United States to begin with. He's from Africa. He's a proud, successful African-American immigrant, rather. This is overlooked by the legacy media for the same reason that Meloni being the first female prime minister of Italy is overlooked, by the way. But that being said, he is right. And overall, he's doing a pretty damn good job, which is why he's being threatened for it. It's why he's got people in Congress threatening to investigate, like senators and shit. It's why Europe is taking a hardline approach to Twitter. You'll know, no European nation right now appears to be optioning blocking Gab. Gab is way more edgy. There's way more edgy stuff on Gab than would ever be allowed on Twitter. That, by the way, will continue to be the case. I can access Gab from here in the Netherlands. It's an EU state. Nobody even talks about it. Twitter, meanwhile, all of a sudden is held to an entirely different framework. Very interesting. Hey, kitty. Adam THM, I normally said he would only debate you if you said that he was right on everything in the last debate. He's delusional. Yeah, exactly. That's the insinuation was that I had to cede ground to him and tell people, oh yeah, I was wrong, by the way. Anomaly is a genius. And then he'll deign to debate me. Like, don't fucking waste my time, dude. You know that I'm going to say no to that anyway. Adam THM, Anomaly, autocorrect. Sorry. Clumsy Vash. Can you shout out this shout out for my shout out about shout outs? Lol, you rule sticks, clank. Yeah, I just shouted out your shout out about shout outs. Michael Cricklow, did you coin the term uniparty? I think so. No, I didn't. I've heard that term for years. I think that term, God, it must date to the 90s or something like that. It's just the idea that the Democrats and Republicans, at least at some level, they all work together. They all do coke together. They are the same thing. They're not the same as the far left or the MAGA populists. Those are outside of that uniparty core. They're Democrats and Republicans alike. Ozzy's Robots, Morning Sticks. I don't know if you managed to read the links I DM'd you. No biggie either way. Why do you think SCOTUS allowed access to Trump's tax returns? Well, the tax returns are pertinent to the House investigation. It's just that they're not going to find anything. The IRS has already gone through them year after fucking year with full access to what's been filed. If the IRS, with all of its investigations of Trump, didn't find anything, here's what I think is happening. They're going to leak the returns in part or in whole, and or they're going to say, well, Trump paid very little taxes. Yeah, by using the perfectly legal loopholes that you people created. They're going to bitch and whine and complain about that and try to pillory him, but they're not going to find anything illegal. I did not get a chance, by the way, yet to read the links that you DM me, but I will in due time. Now we've got AOC's Soy Boy Toy. This is just a funny one. It's a throwaway fucking link in the description, the third link. You can watch it for yourself, but I won't force you to watch AOC talking because I know some of you may suffer from bulimia, so I don't want to trigger anyone. But if you listen to the voice of her soy boy boyfriend, have you ever seen and heard somebody who is more goddamn stereotypical of the male feminist sort of stereotype thing? Please tell me if there's a better example about this. You know who wears the pants in that family. He's the one wearing the skirt, just to be clear. I just thought that I'd throw that out there because it's so fucking funny. If you want to, have to hear AOC's, smarmy, holier than thou, bitchy chick voice, you can do that, but you'll get to hear him as well. And it's a walking stereotype. He's got the soy beard. He's got the problem glasses. He's got the sensitive about love voice. Not a banned account. Retort to doomers who say U.S. elections are over. Yeah, that's depends on how many people vote, in part. You'll see, again, look at the last election. In most states, there was no longer a fortification issue at all. But the Republicans in those states, even there, managed to lose. That's because the uniparty threw the election. It's because of Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, et cetera. We've already discussed that. All you need is more accountability in party. Primary these people out. Get rid of them. That's relatively easy to do compared to, that could be on a state level. Most of those states aren't fortified. So get rid of McConnell, get rid of McCarthy, force them out of office, get somebody new in there, and appoint new leadership. That's what you need to do. Buster Friendly, viewer for 5 years about. Built my YouTube up to 250K on memes. Looking to get into debates. Would you come on my show to debate social media? From Ma. Oh, from Massachusetts. Yeah, send me a DM on Twitter, and I'll check the material out, and we'll see what happens. Not a banned account. Is the reappropriation of Dutch farmland inevitable? I have a feeling that the protests are going to get pretty big over what they're trying to do, and I have a feeling they're going to find that a lot of those farmers aren't willing to sell. They're not talking about compelling them to sell. They're just talking about offering them an enormous sum of money to sell their farmland. Lev Polyakov. Good morning, Sticks. Noticing more people in New York City group settings making a point to express how much of a persona non grata Elon Musk is. Interesting. Transylvania 90. Apparently the requirement to date AOC is the same as getting hired in the royal palace in ancient China. Become a eunuch. Yeah, I mean, look at the dude. He looks. There was one cartoon, and it was the male feminist dude was trying to use AI technology to scope out sexual predators, and there was the femme robot commanding him around, and it looks a little bit like him actually. Pudginess, the sad sack eyes, the problem glasses, the premature balding, the soy beard, the voice, etc., etc. I wonder if she uses a strap-on on him. He'd probably be into that shit. Pathetic. Many such cases. Now we're going to go to one that's funny. This is from Senator Scott Wiener, of course, a Democrat from California. That's not exactly, a surprise, I think. I didn't know anything about him, but I'm like, I bet it's a Californian. And I checked, and yeah, it is. Not even 24 hours after MAGA grifter Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he's really an extremist. Charlie Kirk is really edgy and out there. Yeah, tweeted homophobic lies about me. I received this threat repeating one of his lies. But that was the point, riling people up against me and other LGBTQ people. Words have consequences, and Twitter is becoming a cesspool for this crap. I'm very sorry that somebody happens to have criticized you. And if you look through, this transcription he's claiming now, originally, I guess the idea was that it was a Twitter DM. People pointed out that it actually is like a Word file or something like that. And then he said, no, it's a transcript of a phone call that I received or something like that, calling him a sick individual, saying that he won't be able to walk down the streets when light comes to darkness, that you're fucking providing, you piece of shit. And then, talking about AIDS and stuff like that. I would point out that dovetails in with a very real Californian state policy that I believe Wiener was on board with, which literally decriminalizes giving people HIV, but I digress. Can I please ask this? If you receive a phone call and somebody is saying these things to you, if you feel that they're a threat, legally actionable, firstly, why would you put it on Twitter for clout instead of going to the police? You're a fucking politician. You're an elected official. That's number one. Number two, where's the call? You're a fucking senator. You don't record your phone calls. I think that I would if I were a public persona, like in elected office or something. I'm like, look. Some stalker might call me up and say weird shit. Somebody might try to blackmail me. Somebody may try to bribe me. Somebody may threaten me or my family or something. I'm going to have my calls, recorded. I would think so, especially if I intend to be one of the main authors of the idea of decriminalizing certain aspects of pedophilia within my state. I might get a little bit of flack for that. I would have the call recorded. Where's the fucking recording, Scott? It's not there. That's probably because it didn't happen. And if it did happen, he may be unable to prove it. Well, I'm not going to trust some random politician at just their word. The shit that comes from politicians should always be fact-checked. That even for the MAGA candidates, fucking fact-check them. Is there some sort of consistency here? How likely is this to be true? If it's coming from a politician, 50-50 at best, normally. Fire down below. I like Tim Pool. I watch him every day. I know some salty and clank doesn't like him because he claims to stand on principle and speak truth, meanwhile denying that there was any honking in the 2020 election. I don't believe that he actually denies 2020 honking. Honk, honk. I don't think that. Graham in Gramerica sent $13.99 Canadian. Thank you very much. Gita E. What's your favorite cartoon? I liked Scooby-Doo as a kid. Not watching the new Velma cartoon, though. Alejandro Munaz. Good to see you again, Sticks. Recently got a book explaining the symbolism of the tarot. Genuinely love it. Could I ask your opinion on the subject? I don't use tarot cards myself. I don't believe that they're occult in nature, but they are interesting. I do have a deck back in Rutland. Of course, it's the traditional deck. It's not any of these hippie trippy new age ones. It's interesting. It's fun, but it's basically like a Ouija board. It is, at the end of the day, a parlor game. Andy, he also wrote a bill to decriminalize sex with kids over 12, I believe, in certain circumstances, if it is homosexual in nature specifically. Very interesting. Brom39, someone on TikTok that does the news and stuff claims they release a whole bunch of pedals recently in California. Wonder if that's true. I don't know. Probably. It's California. Corto Maltese, I know you love your occult videos, and I do like them sometimes, but honestly, I'm glad for more political content. Thanks for doing what you do. I will be doing more occult content soon, but there's been a slurry of news that I have to cover, so. Iggy the Incubus, that's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source? My source is that I made it the fuck up. That Maxor clip is the entire thing in a nutshell. Yeah, where's the call, Senator? You know, you don't record your fucking phone calls. You're in state Congress. Yeah, the governor. Normally, when a politician fails to have a phone call recorded, we call it scandalous. We say, well, there's probably a reason that the recording doesn't exist. I'm just going to assume that for this too. Next, we have an interesting story. Biden's Secret Service rental vehicles burst into flames after he left Nantucket vacation. The Secret Service, when he went to Nantucket, because you can't drive, an armored limousine over the ocean, they had to use Hertz rentals when they were in Nantucket. Something is potentially deeply wrong with the situation, though. I have a feeling that one of the vehicles burst into flames and then the damage spread to the nearby vehicles. That can happen, of course. Wheels burn really well, and gasoline and stuff. There's a lot of flammable components in a car, half plastic these days anyway. Can I please ask, though, why after several days the White House hasn't clarified what happened here? Certainly there's got to be video recordings of that area. There's going to be a camera at an airport over the rental zone. So you've got it on video. Did somebody do this? Was this an act of arson? Was this mechanical failure? Was it multiple vehicles at once, or did one of them decide to go off? I have a feeling that one of them is an EV, and the battery decided to explode, and then that fire damaged the other vehicles. Well, naturally, Joe Biden doesn't want to raise any public awareness of that, because having the Secret Service rentals burned into a crisp because of an EV malfunctioning probably would not do good things for his climate change agenda. I think it would be used for comedy specials among Greg Gutfeld and people like that. I have a feeling that's the reason, number one. The second possibility is sabotage. And the third possibility is that, like with the Secret Service agent accidentally crashing Kamala's SUV at one point, that was, I think, a couple of months ago. It's not ancient history. Maybe the Secret Service under Biden is just badly coordinated. Somebody left the fucking car on and it overheated or something like that. They didn't check the engine. What does check engine mean? Oh, I don't know. We'll get to it later. He's only here for a couple of days. He's just eating turkey, and then he has to pass out for his bran muffin nap. Ryan McDonald, USA. Word is Blake Masters, JD Vance received FTX money. I don't know that that's the case. It's possible. You can get me a source if that's true. That'd be interesting. Decimate the Week. Are you planning a cult video on the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where modern tarot cards come from? Aleister Crowley, power struggle, etc. I think I did a video on Crowley once, my opinions about him. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. International Infected Stingray Day. # pools closed. Is too unknown. What is that thing beside you? Now, a lot of things are beside me. Do you mean the cat? The plant? I don't know what you're referring to. Hunter Wadley, talking about cartoons. Dash is Freaky Fred from Courage the Cowardly Dog. You can't unsee it. Naughty. I'll have to look that up. Ozzy's Robots. If Trump's taxes are fair game, they should, then so should Hunter Biden's to finally see the trail to the big guy. But I have little faith in the GOP House or Uniparty. Yeah, I wouldn't expect much will come from that. We'll look forward to who they appoint to actually be on the panel investigating that. If it's Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and people like that, yeah, that could work. Or Rand Paul or something in the Senate backing them up. If it's Kevin McCarthy lording over the presidings, don't expect much. The Grizzly. What percentage chance do you give that Biden is insane enough to run again, especially after the sabotaged midterms? Thanks, McConnell. I still believe it's less than 50-50, but I do believe that he actually does think about the possibility, which is scary because he shouldn't be thinking about the possibility. Transylvanian 90, those 5 models aren't EVs at all, but it's possible that one had a mechanical or electrical fault, caught on fire and spread. 2 were Fords, after all. Yeah, Ford found on road dead. I drive a Toyota, but it's possible. It's just really, really strange that it would happen right after they leave, that they happen to just be used by the Secret Service for several days. It's normally you look into things like that, is what I'm saying. I want to see an investigation and some sort of comment from the White House. Zoro's Racing Pigeon Loft. Sticks, will you give my YouTube a shout out? Also, pigeon racing is very big in the Netherlands. You should look into it for yourself. Plus, the poop is great fertilizer. Interesting. I have not heard of this before. So yeah, Biden's Secret Service rentals all up in smoke there in Nantucket. Jenk Uger's Sweaty Gunt on Rumble. Tim does deny honking. I used to give money to that lying gimp a while ago and would watch his off YouTube after segments. Controlled op. I don't think he's controlled op. I was not aware of the fact that he denied that there was honking in 2020. Is that a YouTube only claim? Like, you know, you have to honk about the honk to not get banned by Susan Wojcicki or something? Alex McCrane, Sticks, I'm about to become a father for the first time. Was wondering how that's going for you. Any advice? Thanks for the great content. It's going well overall. I would say don't overthink things, don't worry too much, and get sleep while you can. That's probably the greatest advice I can give you. Not everyone's an insomniac like me and already has sleeping issues and therefore cares a little bit less when you're woken up at 3 a.m. Although at this point, our daughter is sleeping through the night more often than not. So yeah, it's a bit of a reprieve. Now, I've got a hypocrisy story here for you. It's from the Asian Times. You've seen similar bits from the legacy media for the last few days. China's COVID protests, a youthful cry for openness. Yes, China's protests are about politics and freedom, but they ignore the political consequences of letting it loose on the unvaccinated elderly, which is very interesting. Here's the thing. I've seen a lot of praise for the protests in China among liberal commentators, like the Unipartyists too. Conservatives will always praise that because, you know, Chi-coms and shit like that. They praise the idea that the Chinese people throughout the country are now protesting, and they face real repercussions if they do that. I praise them too for this. You can get gulagged for years, get sent to the re-education camp. You can get executed if you speak out against Jinping or anyone else in the Commie Party. It's an authoritarian system. But I note that it is very startling how the same exact outlets that are praising the Chinese COVID lockdown protesters lambasted those that opposed lockdowns in other countries. The Canadian trucker convoys, here in the Netherlands, there were protests, certainly throughout the United States. State governments that didn't lock, like DeSantis, they laid waste to him and insinuated that he wanted everyone in his state to die because he's a madman. Now they are praising people who are opposing lockdowns. It's like night and day, the coverage that you see here. I hate the hypocrisy. The legacy media engages in it now constantly. Ryan McDonald, USA, you supporting USA over Netherlands in the World Cup? I don't pay any attention to sports ball, and as far as I'm concerned, I just hope that they get on the field and start kicking the shit out of each other, because then at least it'd be entertaining. This man has just scored a point. The Defamation League, since you are into the occult, could you recommend any methods or literature in regards to accessing DMT land without actually smoking it or dying? Also, don't sub to the Defamation League on here or Rumble. I mean, you can use salvia. Salvia divinorum is legal in some states and countries, unlike extracted DMT. You could do that. Although, disclaimer, I'm not recommending it for safety and harm reduction purposes. I have to say that. So disclaimer, I'm not telling you to use salvia divinorum. Again, even though it is legal and it's generally regarded as innocuous, unless you happen to go completely insane because you're stupid enough to smoke 10 puffs of 100x extract on your first try. Then you might have a fucking problem. You could do that. Transcendental meditation comes to mind. The Grizzly, also, do you think that populism can still win after all the honking, sabotaging, and no, Tim does legitimately believe Trump lost because of the anti-Trump vote, and that was more than enough to make him lose. I think it depends on the state. What we saw in Arizona, now 2 elections running, is preposterous and pathetic. There is clearly a problem with their election system. Even some liberals, goddamn, admitted it shouldn't take 2 fucking weeks to figure out who your governor is. That being said, it is true, if you look at the election results, there were races in which MAGA candidates, for instance, in 2020, lost, and it was legit. Mehmet Oz legit lost against a brain-damaged oaf who looks like Frankenstein's monster. He was a weak enough candidate to manage to pull that off. Meanwhile, you have candidates that were effectively abandoned by the unipartyists. That's not an anti-Trump vote. That's the uniparty being a uniparty, and he should address that. But it is true that there were races in which Trump did lose legitimately. It's just honk honk. We don't necessarily have full results for everything. The Swamp Cleaner. Tim Pool doesn't deny that honking occurred. He tries to be more concise by saying the honking was done legally through ballot harvesting. That's also a truth. Yeah. Sick Fox. How did you meet your wife? Here on YouTube. She interviewed me like 5 times before we, set ourselves up. Sebastian Monroe, RE Tim Pool hate. Adam Krigler told a bunch of character flaws of Tim's on a live stream, revealing some damning events that happened. I'm not going to get into that. I like both of their content, and I'm not part of the drama, so it's really none of my business. The only time that I get involved with anything is if I'm brought up or I'm dragged into something. So, like when Vaush spurged out and made a video about me, totally out of the blue. I don't know anything about the dude. He admits it, by the way, in the first few minutes of that video originally, that he knew very little about me, but he was just attention seeking. So I decided to undeservedly give him a little bit of negative attention. Probably should have just fucking ignored his ass anyway. With Anomaly, bad-mouthing me from behind a block. When we debated and everything, if he hadn't gone further than that and started like lambasting me and completely losing it, I wouldn't have given a shit. I wouldn't have targeted him. You can ask anyone who's watched the channel for more than a couple of years. Am I not reluctant to get involved with personal drama? Michael Cricklow. Your new parents are always talking about lack of sleep. Try running a bail bond service for the last 20 years. Lol. Bail bond. You're talking to my plant. Big Chris, do you still watch HB? HB? I don't know what you're referring to. Sasura, speaking of hypocrisy, I've recently made a video on Kanye's canceling and the weirdness around it. I'm just starting my own content, so this is the shameless self-plug. You're the least wrong on YouTube. There you go. We got Sasura doing some YouTube in there. Sebastian Monroe. I know you don't care for drama, but that's the gist of the grievances. For more, reach out to Adam Krigler. He should be awake now, maybe in chat. I'm gonna ignore the whole thing because there's no reason to even get interested in it. I watch Tim or Adam and many others. I watch it for the video content and shit. I don't watch it for anything else. Denying S. Tim's assertion is that Dems won through things like ballot harvesting and targeting uninformed voters. They definitely did both of those, by the way. He admits that there are questions, but overall believes the issues were procedural. The procedural issues are actually, for 2020 especially, almost more important when you really think about it. Yeah, Mitch McConnell wasting $9 million on a race that there is no Democrat actually in. It's cuckoo. Ozzy's robots. Media corporations and big tech also honk elections. Yeah, Elon Musk admitting to Twitter interfering in elections. By the way, it might not just be the U.S. one that he's referring to. Next news story. Voters favor more drilling and fewer rules to end diesel fuel shortage, according to a TIPP poll. Yes, diesel is still up massively. Regular gas and diesel are not quite the same thing. Diesel arguably more important as far as the cost trickling down to people more indirectly, because diesel is what trucks use. Diesel is used in the big engines that move the frozen food around. They move around the meat. They move around the produce. They move around basically everything. Trucks are number one for the United States. There are diesel trains as well. That's where your shipping actually occurs, beyond local shipping, generally speaking. And so if diesel is high, that trickles down price-wise into literally everything else. There are people that are cutting back on Christmas right now and taking out credit cards, taking out fucking debt in order to buy groceries. That's a bad idea. I think I'd rather skip a meal instead of using a credit card. I've never had one and I never will because I'm phobic about racking up credit card debt after my parents did and then suffered for the better part of 30 years trying to pay it off. Yeah, garbage trucks, diesel. Yeah, it's trash removal. So, I mean, if you don't do something about the diesel price, you're going to have problems at farms, harvesters and shit like that on farms, tractors, construction equipment, bulldozers and stuff. That affects the cost of everything that you're creating. Sebastian Monroe, your attitude is why I keep coming back. You don't stick your nose where it doesn't need to be, unlike certain grifters. Please don't lose your way. I'm never going to have the time in the day to get involved in personal drama. I like Tim Pool and his content. I like Adam Krigler and his content. If they have a problem with each other, that's their own problem. It has nothing to do with me. I don't even want to know about it half the time. I watch like the blood sports sort of e-drama thing can be entertaining occasionally if things really pop off. Otherwise, my idea of a debate, it's just going to be over politics or something, or religion. It's going to be over some meaningful issue you have a difference with. I have no bad blood with anyone that I've ever debated unless they started shit with me. Just to be clear. Mr. Wonderful, as a veteran of fringe internet, the gay ops pointed at Tim Pool right now are standard, and the TMZ generation bringing up Krigler is expected. Agreed. Mazeman01, did you train your cat to be present for your videos? It's kind of funny. It's rather funny. No, she just likes to be up here. I think she enjoys the stream. She enjoys the attention. Whenever she's up here, she knows occasionally I'll reach over and do scritchy head, so... Forge and Anvil on Rumble. Hey, Sticks, here at Forge and Anvil, I did an episode on Balenciaga that drops in about 15 minutes on Rumble. It drops later at noon Eastern time on all other big tech platforms. Gotta support alt tech. Yes, Forge and Anvil, if you are watching on Rumble. They have a channel there as well. By the way, 2,200 people watching on Rumble. Again, the ratio keeps getting narrower between YouTube and Rumble as far as engagement, even though I have like a fourth as many people following me on Rumble. That speaks pretty well for Rumble as far as audience participation. By the way, please send no more super chats. I do have to keep it a little bit short again today because my child is actually upstairs and could start chuffing at any time. It can be unpredictable. Brett Werdersheim found Stitch and Adams' analyze of the Tim Pool interview a bit more enlightening. Kanye very economically illiterate and believes in standalone complexes. I don't know what a standalone complex is in that context. I have no problem with Kanye. I think that he probably does have some, mental issues. I don't think that he is a bad person. I certainly don't think that he's a Nazi. I definitely don't agree with him being deplatformed. That being said, I'm not going to sit there and worship the ground he walks on, suck his fucking balls or something simply because he happens to meme it up with other people. Andy, first year backyard gardening, and I have 100+ pounds of sweet potatoes, carrots, Brussels sprouts, beans, and a ton of tomatoes and peppers. Everyone should try it. Yeah, it's not hard. Make sure to get into canning. Hunter Wadley, should parents make their adult Gen Z children experience the real world and, bills? Do these people not know that they're also the draft class? Let's fund Ukraine forever. Yeah, I don't agree with the overarching stereotype of any given generation. Like, there are hardworking boomers. There are upstanding Gen Xers. There are millennials like myself who are not whiners and, try to do good job, good work and shit. And there are Gen Zers that are not part of the woke bullshit that they're stereotypically associated with. I don't have a problem with the younger generation. Everyone had a problem with ours when we were the younger generation, and with Gen X before that, they're slackers and shit. And with the boomers, they're entitled and shit. And with the World War II generation, this kid might be a commie, shit like that. And then we have the last news story, the IRS making new plans. Now, I was sold the concept of an IRS expansion with the understanding that the IRS was mainly going to hire new agents in order to go after the super rich. This is what Biden promised. There will be no additional audits for anyone making under $400,000 a year, with an asterisk next to it because it depends on if you file single or married, just to be clear, or where your income comes from. Now, I don't believe that at all. That was always bullshit. But now the IRS is saying that they want to monitor every transaction over $600 on like PayPal and Venmo. You have to record those, and you have to tell the IRS that those were made. And that's for someone is getting income under the table potentially, getting paid on PayPal or something like that. Now, if you don't report that income, it is a violation. It is already against the law. You should be recording that. If you get $100 on PayPal, it can be construed as income depending on who's sending it to you and for what purpose. And if you can't establish that it's not income, it's literally just a gift from grandma, then you should probably claim it on your tax returns, because if the IRS audits you, they can throw a stink over it. That being said, the average person that's making $1,000 on PayPal probably is not part of the 400K plus class. Now, are they? No, I don't think that that's what people wanted Biden to do. It's the same scam over and over. This particular image here is like, I'm trying to run a small business. The IRS will monitor your transactions over $600. Then it's got FTX. We scammed customers out of billions. The IRS is like, that's okay. Nobody gives a shit. Yeah, Inferio, they're already looking at your past tax filings. Oh, yeah, that's why I don't claim a lot of the exemptions that technically I can get. I could pay several $1,000s a year less on my taxes if I wanted to. I'm not willing to bother doing that, though, because I want the tax form to be as uncomplicated and clean as possible so that there's no chance that if I get audited, anything goes wrong. So I've paid over the years maybe $5,000 or $6,000 more than I've technically owed over the last half decade. A little give or take some. And that's on purpose. I decided years ago, so in the wake of the lowest learner thing, that was years before. If the IRS can be weaponized for political purposes, it will be weaponized for political purposes. I just don't have the time. I don't want to get sued by the IRS and get dragged before a court taking time off my work. Even if in the end I win, doesn't matter. You still have to pay for a fucking lawyer. So it's pointless. I do find it funny, though. The problem is that, it's been pointed. This has been cleared up. Never mind. Swordmate, I think it was 600 total over a year. Yeah. So if you made 50 transfers over a year that totals over 600, it needs to be reported. Now, I already have to report my digital income because I make far more than that. It's a living income. I get forms from like Amazon and Patreon and all the others, so it's not really that difficult. But yeah, I mean, the IRS, I pointed out earlier on Twitter, who's more likely to get ticketed if they're 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, miles per hour? The person who donated a bunch of money to the Police Benevolence Association, or the person with the all cops are bastards shirt? Who's more likely to get the ticket, and who's more likely to just get a warning and then the cop says good day and wanders off? Well, the person who gets the ticket is probably the one that says all cops are bastards. This is also why, if you're going to be very critical of government policy, as I am, it pays to be cautious. I'd rather pay a little bit more money on taxes and not end up in prison or before a court wasting my time and the taxpayers' time as well and money than fuck around and say, oh, well, I saved $500 on my taxes. I'm capable of absorbing that cost, so I am extremely cautious with these things. As should you be, by the way. Yeah, it's 600 in a year, to be clear. Because originally, when it was originally reported, it sounded like it was $600 transactions in general. That would have been funny because someone could just send $500 and then send the other 100, and of course, it wouldn't trigger any monitoring. But that's not exactly what the IRS was expanded for, according to the Biden administration. It was to go out after wealthy tax cheats. Yeah, $600 is nothing to a George Soros. Journey, trials, and joy. At this point, how can anyone have faith in the system this corrupt? I don't have any faith in the system. I just think that it's capable of being uncorrupted. Not perfected, but it's capable of improving. I refuse to be blackpilled. Once you're blackpilled, you've already lost, so, And yes, to God's dice, yes, you still do have to pay your U.S. taxes if you are living abroad, just to be clear. The U.S. government is also the only one, I think, that forces you to pay if you want to relinquish citizenship. You have to file for that, and you have to pay money to actually leave the country and go off and be a citizen elsewhere. Red Monkey, it's time we admit that the corporate journos did, in fact, #learn to code. How else does the NPC dialogue get programmed? Good point. Anyway, I think that I'm going to go off now. It's about 45 minutes. I've got other things I do have to still go out to the store as well, so it's going to be a good day. I hope you all enjoyed the live stream. Almost over 6,000 people watching at peak. Good day. That's about all. Peace.